So let's start with an overview of the two different views of Ableton. So the way I like to think about this is that imagine Ableton is kind of like a cube. There's the front and then there's the back. Now what you call the front and what you call the back kind of depends on what kind of music you do. And well, not what kind of music you do, but how you use Ableton. So the two sides are called session view and arrangement view. And what we're really talking about when we're talking about these two sides is this big box here. This stuff doesn't change dependent on whether we're looking at session view or arrangement view or this stuff up here. We'll talk about all these boxes later. But this seems to be one of the first things that really stumps people when they're learning Ableton is this session view and arrangement view thing. Especially people that come to Ableton already knowing one of the other DAWs, like Pro Tools, Logic, something like that, and you look at Ableton and you look at this, what we're looking at right now, and the first thought that goes through your head is, where is my timeline, right? Like there's no timeline here. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with audio. So, session view and arrangement view. Let's look at the differences between them. So what we're looking at right now is session view. Session view is kind of where Ableton started. It's one of the kind of workhorses of Ableton. And what it does is, it kind of looks like here that we're looking at a mixer, and it looks like each one of these little blocks is where a plugin should go. If you're familiar with another DAW like Pro Tools, it might look like you should put a plugin in each one of these little rectangles. But that's not exactly true. How this works, and this is just going to be like a quick overview of the two sides of it, but how this works is each one of these little rectangles is called a clip slot. This area is called the clip slot grid, okay? And a clip is any piece of, let's say music. Let's say any piece of music. And what that means is that it could be audio or it could be MIDI. It could be a MIDI clip or it could be an audio clip, depending on what kind of track we're on. So I have MIDI tracks here and audio tracks here. So let me throw something in there. Okay, so now I've got in this little conga riff in an audio track. So this is a piece of audio. If I double click on it, we'll see it, right? This is an audio file. It's just one little conga note. And so when I hit the little play button, you'll notice that these little squares now turn to play buttons, right? And now these squares, it might be obvious that now these are stop buttons actually. So when we have a longer groove going, we can hit that and we can hit stop on anything. So each of these contains a clip, and a clip is any piece of audio or MIDI, right? So what this lets us do is if we load a whole bunch of these, okay, so now I've got a whole bunch of little clips in here, and what I can do is I can launch one, and it'll play, right? And then when I want to launch another one, it waits for the next downbeat to launch it, right? So it's always going to launch it on a downbeat, and it's going to be sure that we stay in time. So when you see it blink, that's it waiting for the next downbeat. And we can adjust that. We can adjust when it launches, whether it launches every downbeat, every quarter note, every eighth note, every 16th note. You can get pretty weird with it. The thing to remember here is that you can have one clip playing per track at a time. If I wanted two clips playing, I could do this. Let's just randomly put some stuff over there. So now I can have a clip here going. Let's get a groove going here. And I can add in this one. Right now I've got two going. And they're looping. Switch that one up. Start this one, it's going to stop that one. So you can imagine each clip like they're a tiny little record, right? And we can have as many tracks as we want and as many clips as we want going all at once. Now there's a lot more to session view than just this, but this is the main meat and potatoes of it. This is kind of what stumbles a lot of people is this idea of clips. So that's session view. Now, arrangement view will be much more familiar to you if you've ever worked with a DAW before. So to get to arrangement view, there's a couple different ways we can get to it. The easiest way is the tab key. So I can hit the tab key and then my whole layout here changes, right? This box, it looks like it changes, but it's actually staying the same content. It's showing me the clip, but I don't have any clips selected over here. Here I do have a clip selected, right here. Everything else stays the same. So the other way you can get back and forth is between these two little guys. And if you look carefully at them, you'll notice that this one shows horizontal lines and this one shows vertical lines, which if you look at the Ableton logo, maybe I can pull it up right here. There it is. That is the session view and arrangement view, right? That makes sense now, right? That's why they use that as the logo. It's a session view, arrangement view. Okay. So we can toggle between the two over here or with the tab key. So let's look at arrangement view. Arrangement view is going to be much more familiar to you if you've ever used a DAW before, right? So I can drag clips in here. So we still call them clips, any nugget of audio or video information. And I can move them around. And now I've got a timeline. Right now I'm looking at something kind of analogous to a musical score, something where I can see time happening. If I hit the space bar, I hear this happening over time, right? I can move it between tracks as long as I stay on an audio track. I can actually move it to a MIDI track and it converts it to an audio track in this case because there was no MIDI on it. There are some other magical things that that'll do in other situations. But this way, you know, I can drag other stuff in here. I can put notes together. I can piece together my piece as an arrangement, which is why we call this arrangement view, right? Because we can see the arrangement. You know, if I wanted to loop this note, I could just do this, and now it's going to be in sync with my reggae beat and this big bass note. This will be weird. Okay, you get the point. Not particularly brilliant, but it could work. Okay, so that's the main difference, session view and arrangement view. So just remember that in arrangement view, we have a timeline. We can see the timeline, we can work that way. In session view, we have clips. We can't see the timeline, but we can improvise, we can flow freely between our sounds and doing whatever we want that way. So another way to think about this would be that session view is more conducive to live performance, and session view is more conducive to production and writing a track. Now, that's my opinion, and it's debatable. I know a lot of people that never leave session view. They do all of their composition and arranging in session view, and that is totally fine. I like to work primarily in arrangement view and then go to session view after it's I have all the material that I want so that I can improvise with it. Or in some tracks, in a lot of my tracks, I never go to session view. I use arrangement view for everything because my background is as more of a traditional composer. So, you know, I like my timelines. I like things that look like musical notation in a way that lets me have kind of an insane amount of control. Over here, you're much more free to explore, to improvise. So it's two different ways of approaching music, you know, and how you want to work on music. In our next video, we're going to look at our arrangement view in a little bit more detail.